Hello, this is Chef John from foodwishes.com with Firecracker shrimp roll with crab aioli. That's right, what better sandwich to serve near or on the 4th of July than this explosively seasoned fried shrimp sandwich? And while this still would have been totally amazing without the crab aioli, with it, it was, as the kids would say, fire. Do the kids still say that? I mean, probably not if I'm using it. But anyway, the point is, this really was lit. So with that, let's go ahead and get started with our first component, which will be the aforementioned crab-infused aioli. And for this, we will start with about a cup of mayonnaise, to which we will add an equal amount of picked lump crab. Okay, make no mistake, this is not a mayonnaise flavored with crab. This is more like crab flavored with mayonnaise. And then to this, we will add a whole bunch of finely crushed garlic, as well as some salt, a few shakes of cayenne, a few drops of Worcestershire sauce, and just a little kiss of freshly squeezed lemon juice. Alright, just a touch. If you add too much lemon to crab, it will mask the sweetness. Which, by the way, is the opposite of our last ingredient, which is some freshly chopped tarragon, which actually enhances the sweetness of the crab, which is why it's such a common herb for shellfish. So we'll toss in some of that and give this a mix. And that's it. What we're calling crab aioli is done. And we'll go ahead and pop that in the fridge until needed, and move on to prepping our shrimp, if even necessary. Alright, these days you can often find peeled and deveined shrimp ready to use, which is sort of what I have here. Alright, these are deveined and partially peeled, but they still have the tails attached, which I went ahead and removed using the old pinch and pull. And by the way, this is 1 pound of shrimp, which is going to make 2 very, very generous portions. But anyway, we'll go ahead and prep our shrimp, and we can pop that in the fridge while we make the buttermilk mixture we're going to dip it into, which besides the buttermilk is going to include some Louisiana hot sauce, as well as some ground chipotle pepper, and a lot of cayenne. I said a lot of cayenne. There we go. And then we will finish this off with some freshly ground black pepper, and of course some salt. And that's it, we will give this a whisk. And that's going to take care of the wet stuff, which means we can move on to the dry stuff. And what we'll be dredging our shrimp in is a combination of 3 parts flour to 1 part cornmeal, along with, if you want, some optional paprika, which will add a little bit of sweetness, but it's mostly there for the color. Okay, once fried, it's going to give our coating a nice shrimpy hue. And then we'll go ahead and finish this off with some salt, and we'll give everything a nice stir. And hopefully most of it stays in the dish. But anyway, we will give that a thorough mixing. And once our breading is set, we can move on to the bread. And for this, we're going to want to use a nice soft sandwich roll. Okay, we don't want anything too heavy and dense here. And what we'll do is go ahead and slice in. But not all the way, of course. Okay, just enough to open it up. And then I highly recommend we remove a little bit of the bread from the top, which is not only going to give us extra room for our crab aioli, but it's also, of course, going to make this low carb. And then besides that, what I also think we should do is pop this in a 400-degree oven for about 7 to 10 minutes, just to give it a little toasting, which is exactly what I did. And what we'll do is let that cool down for a couple minutes, while we move on to transfer our shrimp into our buttermilk mixture. And I'm just going to do 1 giant portion here. And what we want to do after we transfer those in is let those shrimp soak for about 5 minutes. Alright, a little longer is fine, but I don't think we want to go too long, because buttermilk is fairly acidic, and we don't want to end up with accidental ceviche. So we'll just let that sit for about 5 minutes. And while we're waiting, we should dress our roll. Because our shrimp are going to fry so quickly, once they're done, we want to build our sandwich immediately. So we'll go ahead and spread both sides of our roll very, very generously with our crab aioli. And I do mean generously. Okay, put on what you think is too much, and then add 1 more spoon. And then besides that, we will also put on some shredded lettuce, which in my case is going to be some hearts of romaine. And that's it. Once our roll is dressed, and our shrimp have been soaking for about 5 minutes, we can go ahead and fish those out and transfer them into our breading. And as usual, we'll let most of this stuff drip off. But don't worry, there's still going to be plenty attached to stick to our breading. And we'll definitely want to toss these around so every nook and cranny is coated. And we'll also make a half-hearted attempt to shake off most of the excess. And that's it. Once our shrimp are breaded, those are now ready to fry in some hot vegetable oil over medium-high heat. And don't go anywhere once you place these in, because these are going to cook very quickly. All right, they're only going to need a couple minutes per side, And yes, of course, if you have a deep fryer, you could use that if you want. I mean, you are, after all, the John Mitzowich of this crispy fried shrimp sandwich. But having said that, they really do come out beautifully using this pan frying method. And the great thing about cooking pan fried shrimp is that by the time the outside is golden brown and crispy, the inside is going to be perfectly cooked. So I ended up giving mine a couple minutes per side, at which point we will pull those out to a paper towel lined plate, and then immediately transfer those onto our dress roll. And as I'm piling these up, you might be thinking, Chef John, that looks like way too many shrimp. I mean, you're not even going to be able to close that. How the heck am I supposed to eat this? Well, hang on a second. I'll show you. First, I need to finish this with a dusting of cayenne, because firecracker. So we will give that one last shot of heat. And that's it. It is now finally ready to eat. But not as a sandwich right away. All right, like any great po' boy, we're going to need to eat some of the main ingredient first before we try to close it, which I will do right now, while giving you the very important tip to eat this right away while it's hot. Okay, do not under any circumstances make this sandwich and then take pictures of it for like 20 minutes before you eat it. All right, because as the shrimp sits and cools, that coating is going to become less crispy. I mean, still amazing, but slightly less crispy. So as usual, yours is probably going to be better than mine, which really is saying something, because this was unbelievably good. All right, this is just a masterclass in perfectly contrasting taste and temperatures, with that cold, creamy, garlicky crab mayonnaise playing off our hot, crunchy sweet shrimp. And not just hot temperature-wise, of course, but we also have all that fiery heat from our spices. So if you'll please pardon the cliche, this really is exploding with flavor. So I really do love everything about this, including its very seasonably appropriate name. And I'm hoping you like this Fuse to Flavor Town too, which by the way is a semi-vague reference, indicating where I got the idea for this. But anyway, the point is I really do hope you give this a try soon. So head over to foodwishes.com for all the ingredient amounts and more info as usual. And as always, enjoy.